It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep your operation running. That's why at Grainger, we're here for you, with professional-grade industrial supplies and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
With a VSP individual vision plan, your
All right, we're about to start, so if you guys could all grab food and drinks and take a seat, that'd be great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. If you guys in the back could, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, all right. If you guys could, I'll just give everyone 1 second to grab a pizza and take a seat. Everyone 1 more second. Okay, cool.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Tom. Hey, good evening. It's man, this is like so distant. Would you mind if I just get closer to the crowd? Yeah. Yeah. So it's really great to see everyone on a busy Wednesday evening. Out of that many priorities, work to do, you chose to stick with us, to spend the evening with us, and we are really happy to see everyone here. Can I just get a quick show of hands? Like, how many of us are actually founders here today? And builders, like you're building stuff, but you're not like building for your own company. You're builders. And okay, great. And the investors? Anyone like me? Okay, great. Awesome. A good mix of a high caliber crowd. So really happy to share a bit on UpScaleX. My name is Alan. I'm co-founder and partner at UpScaleX. Okay. Yeah, so we are a seed fund with an accelerator, and we're based in Palo Alto. So welcome to stop by. It's only 1 hour away. When the traffic slides 30 minutes away. So we, like many seed funds, with a specific focus, we try to stay focused on two sectors that we're really good at. One is digital commerce, and the other one is AI application, particularly AI for commerce. Well, we chose to stay really focused because we enjoy a network of founders, investors who have done business with us, who got invested by our ecosystem over the past decade. And there are people, network, high caliber professionals and investors in our network that are interested in becoming upstream, downstream collaborators. So the stage we play in is pre-seed to seed. We make an investment of 500,000, invite our portfolio companies into our accelerator, and we co-build. We see ourselves not just as the investor, but also as a co-builder. Pouring the resources, redefine or refine the business models, and then find the first batch of clients and design partners, and here we go. To the next round, and we find the next round of co-investors with us. So we only want to invest into 10 projects for each batch, and 2 to 3 batches every year. That makes us a boutique, but we also want to create value and stay really focused on things we're good at. Many people ask us, like, out of that many ideas, why would you guys stay that focused on? Yeah, okay, so just point it here, right? Awesome. So out of that many ideas, why do you guys want to stay on the consumer sector, like consumer tech and AI for commerce? So the idea is that this is really a fascinating sector, and also I'm pretty good at it. So a bit about myself. I graduated from business school slightly more than a decade ago, and then spent 10 years investing as a VC investor on consumer tech. So I spent a few years investing into a couple of 100x e-commerce platforms, content platforms, and then I got recruited by Joe Tsai, co-founder of Alibaba, to run one of his investment arms, and spent a few years there. And now, starting from last year, I joined this VC network in Palo Alto that has a decade-long history, and started this UpScaleX. But then we also look together at the massive opportunities here in the US consumer market, and we're talking about 20 trillion in size, and half on retail and half on the service sector. And if you look at the numbers, you see, out of that 200 different markets and countries, the US contributes 1/3 of the world's consumer market. But if you look at the net incrementals in 2023 and 2024, the US market actually contributed more than half of the world's net incremental, which is 2 trillion, and the US market net incremental is 1 trillion. So, which means to founders who are looking for incremental opportunities and growth opportunities, staying focused on this specific market is equivalent to spreading out your efforts, over all the remaining 200 different markets, which actually says a lot about the bargaining power in this market, and also explains the root cause of what's going on today, this week, on the trade war. But contrary to many people's frustrations, observations in the market, people have been complaining, last year, the year before, receiving pressures on the inflation, everything. The market has been growing nonstop, both on the retail, offline retail end and on the e-commerce end, which means 5 years of nonstop consecutive growth in this market, which creates huge opportunities. And the growth was actually because, contrary to many people's feeling, the incremental part of the buying power and disposable income was actually larger than the inflation. So there was actually 2 to 3% net incremental on the buying power for the households, even in 2023 and 2024. But is that still the case this year? We're putting a lot of question marks there. That is to the mass market, wage makers. But to people, many in this room who have good exposure of SP 500 and tech stocks, the net incremental last year was 23%, the year before was 24%. So the middle class, upper middle classes, the wealthier part of this market are actually having huge buying power at their own disposal, which actually slightly differentiates themselves from the mass market's behavior. But also coming to this year, we are seeing pressures on tech stock growth. We're seeing a lot of other interesting dynamics. So we're trying to figure out what's the big idea for 2025. Here we go. So here is the things we are really focused on this year. So first of all, considering what's going on, macro economy, geopolitical tensions, and the split on the different people have different buying powers. We're actually calling out the two-speak economy, and which literally means for people that are targeting consumer sector, they have to be really specific, like which group of users you want to target. The good news is we're talking about this 20 trillion market. So 1% of the retail business, which is 10 trillion, 1% of that population and 1% of that 1%'s wallet share is actually 1 billion. So if you are being really specific on the target ICP, you will have a big enough market for growth, particularly for early stage investors and early stage founders. But still, we're seeing to the middle classes, the upper middle classes, the people that are feeling pressures on the service sector. There are replacements like robotics, like SaaS, like memberships. But to the mass market, we're mainly seeing this efficiency-driven e-commerce. And merchandise is coming onshore, a lot of things going on. I'd like to double click on that a bit later. But secondly, it's also interesting to see this cross-generational media habit change is creating new opportunities on commerce. So take TikTok as example. 150 million Americans are watching TikTok on monthly basis. And for every daily active users, they actually spend 90 minutes. So it sounds like a big market, right? But in reality, the US TikTok shop, the size of it is only as big as that of Thailand. So there's, in my eyes, 30 to 50x growth opportunities behind social commerce, streaming commerce, ideas that are behind the Generation Z and the new generations, consumption habits in relation to their media consumption habits. And of course, in the center of San Francisco, AI-driven transformations. We're not just talking about the 2C interfaces, new traffics, and new apps that are consuming people's time. We're also talking about these enablements that are in place to support the brands to grow faster, sales, marketing, growth, and also interactive experiences with the users. And that creates a big window for founders that are in this field. Don't want to take up people's too much time because we still need some time for shoot about that. Yeah. So we still need time for the panel discussion, but I just want to flip through some of the observations in the market in case people are curious, like what we have seen. The first idea I want to call out is in relation to this trade war and the macroeconomic and geopolitical tensions, there are actually opportunities that are emergent. So and we're talking about onshoring, not about manufacturing. Manufacturing onshoring is going to take ages, but the onshoring of the merchandises, the change from e-commerce platforms, a platform type of business, which introduces millions of merchandises onto one platform, and they wouldn't manufacture until the order is placed, into a more Walmart-like or Target-like retail type of business model where you curate and select 10,000 SKUs, put them onshore in the warehouses, and you have to figure out which one sell, which one would not. And making these decisions will actually require tons of data-driven and retail hardcore capabilities. And that is actually pushing towards tech companies to find these solutions. On the very bottom right, it's a very interesting company called Pax. Has anyone heard? So it was actually YC24, one of the interesting vertical AI companies that works on tax. And it was very specific on tax return for goods that are leaving United States borders. It doesn't make too much sense because United States wasn't exporting that much until last month. when you have to bring all of these merchandise onshore, put them in the warehouse, and guess what? Many of them just wouldn't sell, right? So there's a huge return pressure and a big opportunities behind that. So I just want to point out that anything onshore, anything closer to the demand side versus the supply side, we'll see interesting opportunities and interesting dynamics. And it's up to the founders' eyes to figure out which are worth going for. Next idea. Yeah. I don't want to just repeat it, but I just want to point it out that social commerce, the value conscious e-commerce, and the restructuring of the supply chain are actually, new ideas that pop out, and that's worth some attention. A very interesting idea, that's actually the one on the bottom left corner. It's called Palm Street. So Palm Street is actually a Bay Area company, and started 4 years ago, and they are already selling at 9 digits. The idea was very simple. They do TikTok shop like streaming sales, and they only sell plants that are expensive. Every order size was more than $100, and only recently did they expand to the new category, which is reptile pets like snakes and lizards. Very niche sector, but that's actually echoing my previous point that any niche sector, if you do it well, that's actually 1 billion worth of business, and that's already good enough for many of these early stage founders here. But value-oriented solutions, supply chain-oriented solutions, definitely it's gonna fly. Try that again. Thank you. Next idea, I don't want to teach grannies how to boil eggs in the heart of AI innovations. Just want to say we are really expecting and going along behind the AI agents. Well, the first 2 years of GPT moment was exciting, but it's less about execution. It's more about understanding, creating content. What really brings AI agents to the world is the ability to execute. What previously people relied on RPA robots to execute with low intelligence. What it is creating these days from vertical to a horizontal is already pretty impressive, and we are so looking forward to the next wave of innovations to bring to the market. And us being really focused on AI for commerce and consumer AI, we are very excited to see Silicon Valley starting to embrace more and more on this idea as well. So when we got started with investing into consumer AI and AI for commerce, it was like ranking number 4, number 5, and now it's still pretty low in terms of a ranking, but we're seeing investors and founders picking up, YC being one indicator, but if you look across different accelerators, incubators, and early stage founders, we're hearing more and more idea leaning towards real world application. By real world application, one angle you prove it is to generate B2B sales, and the other way is to prove it through the user adoption and transaction value for the brands and the sales. And in that sense, it's actually picking up and getting closer and closer to its own GPT moment. Thanks. So for the 2C innovations, there are actually constantly 3 ideas I want to call out, and we are going bullish behind them. First of all, Gen AI is allowing average users, normal users like you and I, to generate to generate commercial value contents that are consumable, that are worth spending time reviewing. So that is actually already happening with the new Qlay painting capabilities on ChatGPT, but it's also happening on various different platforms that are recreating or redefining user-generated contents. The second idea is this surge in user applications which are taking occupying more of our time and creating new portals, new user traffics. And third idea related to search and recommendation engines. So search and recommendation has been more than half of the market cap in the age of mobile internet, and it still remains the case, right? And it's actually more than just the consumer idea. There's a lot more going on data level, labeling, notation, and lots of different plays to make a search engine work. It's way beyond just the GPT wrapper, but we're really excited to see the next wave of vertical search recommendations and those that are disrupting the consumer's attention. And this is a map of what we listed out in the AI for commerce. In the same sense, we are excited to see how AI, Gen AI, is empowering the brands. For the first time ever, the brands are able to talk like a real human to their users. And the interactivity is actually redefining the brands themselves, right? So starting from what to buy, the seeding stage, to the onboarding, the conversion stage, the after sales, and the brand's own operations management. Then we are seeing lots of ideas targeting specific views, and that's actually something we invest heavily into. This is what we invested into for the last batch. There are companies related to AI for commerce, AI to consumer, digital commerce specific, and also robotic applications. One of our founders, founder of WorldEngine, is going to share a bit on that later. But if you are happening to be building something of anything like that, welcome to talk to us right after this session. And next page, we have 2 QR codes. You might just want to take a photo of them. One is our LinkedIn and social account. You can follow. And we're going to make announcement when we open up the next cohort. And the one on the right, we invite you to become one of our premier contributors, so that want to keep track of your recommendations. If it is you or your friends that are building stuffs, and we want to hear what you're building, and we'll be really happy to speak to you. So with that, I'll just pass down to Tom.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Alan. Everyone give it up for Alan, please. He's investing actively, and he'll be around for networking. If you could.
Hi everyone. Thanks for coming. As Alan just mentioned, I'm the portfolio of UpScaleX. UpScaleX is mainly focusing on the e-commerce or many consumer tech. So many people are wondering why we can engage. I will explain a lot of details later on, but since it's simple, because you have the e-commerce, but you also have a lot of offline stores, which are like physically distributed everywhere. And you want to make automation. You want to make more like improvements on efficiency. What can we do? It's all about the physical world automation, which is robotics. And we are here trying to boost the robotics to reach to the real physical world AGI. So a little bit introduction on myself. So I'm D, an old guy in the autonomous driving industry. So I started my autonomous driving journey in 2015, where I joined TuSimple as the early interns, the first 3 interns in TuSimple, which is an autonomous driving truck company in San Diego. I built a lot of SLAM and distributed training infra at that time. And later on, I joined Google Cloud AI, doing a lot of machine learning infrastructures, including MLOps, like data labeling, model monitoring, and model eval. So those are all the platforms I built in the big Vertex AI platform. And after working there for 4 years, I feel like, oh, it's not interesting to me anymore. I still want to do some algorithms, and then I go back to the autonomous driving industry again, doing a lot of perception stuff. So how many of you have taken the Waymo ride before? Wow, a lot of people. Okay, I should keep my stock. Yeah, so when I was driving over here, I saw a lot of Waymo cars and also the 6th generation car, which is like a pretty big one, but I feel like it's more ugly than the current one. But anyway, okay, I went to Waymo, started to work on a lot of interesting stuff, including the pedestrian detections, which is the most important safety features. We try to avoid hitting into pedestrians that just coming across the parallel parking street, and small animal detections, and also the EV reactions, which in the city there are a lot of emergency vehicles, those big fire trucks, those like the police cars. We have to detect and react. So those are the features done by me and my team. On the last project I did there is end-to-end driving foundation model. So at that time, a lot of noise come out from the Tesla side, like, oh, they are doing the end-to-end driving, like why Waymo didn't catch up on that. So we started a Tiger team to build our first end-to-end foundation model, which powered by Gemini. We started with Gemini pre-trained weights, and then we mix with our data to train an end-to-end model to see whether that can outperform our existing like onboard models. And we actually successfully landed that project on the cloud, and it's performing pretty well, cutting a lot of costs over there. Okay, and after staying in Waymo for 3.5 years, I decided, okay, this is no more interesting. I need to find another thing more exciting for me to do. And that's it, the robotics startup we try to build. So right now I'm the CEO and founder of the WorldEngine AI. So let's do a little bit recap on what has been done over the past 10 years for robotics. In 2012, we see the first deep learning algorithm being working. That is AlexNet. It's so shocking that everyone has been amazed by the performance it can reach, and that comes the first wave of data-driven approach for autonomous driving, where people started to use the data-driven way for doing all the to solving many computer vision problems on autonomous driving. And the first wave of the investment coming out. So everyone at that time claiming, okay, 5 years later we can reach the fully autonomy. But unfortunately, that's not the case, because the whole data generation speed and the whole leveling speed is still very low at that time. And then we stayed another several years and waiting for the second wave, around 2016 and between 2016 and 2018, where everyone claims that, okay, our MPI, which is miles per invention, a metrics to show the efficiency of your autonomous system. They say that, okay, our MPI is higher than Waymo. So, but that's not the case, because MPI at that time is not really a metrics anymore in Waymo, and we don't count on that. We count on the safety metrics. We count on the efficiency metrics. Okay, several waves until today. The fourth wave, where 2024, you see so many cars running on the streets in San Francisco, and also in LA, Austin, and Phoenix. It's really all about this 10 years of both the data efforts that reaches the final autonomy. So the same thing happens for robotics today. Like, we see the first wave of the shift that robotics started to use the data-driven machine learning-based approach to reach the general purpose or generalization. And then in 2024, we saw the first wave of the foundation model company coming out for physical AI, which is Pi, Scaled, and many others. And what's happening next? Okay, so as I mentioned, there is a shift for paradigm shift for the technology in robotics. So data-driven approach becoming more important, and then we need a lot of data. But for robotics, unfortunately, today there are not so many ways to do that. Today there are three major things happening in robotics. First is tabletop data collection, where you set up two arms to collect, do some simple tasks on the table side. And we also do it in the simulation and also learning from human motions. But all these have the domain shift and the morphology gap that makes it harder to deploy after you train the models with the data you collected here. And we have to do a lot of real-world data collection here. Next. But the question is, why don't we directly deploy all the robots to the real world? The answer is quite simple. It's a classic chicken and egg problem. So if you look at the autonomous driving, we can easily deploy it because the car itself is a pretty useful transportation tool. You collect all the data behind the scene without too much human cost. But for robotics, are you going to operate on the robot to do your daily household work? It's too low efficient. It's impossible to make it work at this moment. So that's why you need to have first, if you want to deploy, you need the robot to have some intelligence. But unfortunately, if you want the robots to have intelligence, you need to contribute a lot of data to train your models. So we are here trying to solve the problem for data collection in robotics. When we look at the history of the autonomous driving data collection, it's a very long path. First, we started with the closed course testing. We buy a closed course road. We do all the scenario tests in that place. But quickly we shift to the driver behind wheel and the remote driver behind the scene testing. And most of the data we collected from those two real scenarios are the data that's really be useful for reaching the fully driverless capabilities of the system. And I think the path to large-scale robotics data collection is quite similar. First, everyone starts with the lab scenario data collection. That's how the Aloha, mobile Aloha, and similar systems are developed, where we have the tabletop setup, we have the controlled environment to do a lot of ablation studies. And quickly, I think, we will shift to a place where we have to go in the wild to many real-world scenarios, to go to the merchant stores, to do all the data collection there. And those are the most useful data sources we can get for future deployment. And as I mentioned, it's a chicken and egg problem, but we can mitigate it with the local teleop system, where we do it in the human in the loop way. The robot doesn't have any intelligence, but human has. And we do the teleoperation, co-locate together with the robot as the starting point. But later on, I think if you want to reach the real positive unit in economics, you have to offshore all the labor sources from here to the cheaper place. That's how remote teleoperation system has to happen there. And I think with all of these development cycles of these three steps, we can really reach the final autonomy. And our mission is pretty simple. We try to deploy massive robots in real world to collect all the data there. And first, we collaborated with several foundation model companies to provide the in-house data and also the real-world data to them. And later on, with the gradual improvement of the system, we gradually deploy the robots out and then generate the meaningful services. Then the data can still be going back to us, and we can either train our models or collaborate with those foundation models to make the deployment happen. Yep, I think that's the major parts for us.
All right, thank you so much. Maybe we can do a quick panel with the two guests, and then once that's done, we can go back to the networking session. So let me, Alan, if you could take the middle seat.
Letters.
Okay. Maybe before I jump into the questions that I pre-prepared, does anybody have any questions that they want to ask either Alan or Dee based on the presentation they just had? Trying to open it up to the floor.
Yeah. Or we can leave it for later. You know.
Let's leave it for later then.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe I'll jump right into the questions. And this is based on the current Trump administration's tariffs and what kind of impact it might have on the consumer industry. I'm sure you guys have all seen the news, and it's essentially a big mess, basically. But based on the trade tensions, how would that affect digital commerce or consumer industry or the intersection of those with AI? What's your take on that?
I'd be happy to exchange ideas with everyone. I'm pretty sure there are also experts in this field, and feel free to jump in. So there are challenges, of course, disruptions, but also opportunities simultaneously happening. So first of all, my key opinion is that a tariff of 140%, that doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense in terms of policy, but it's also incentivizing de facto smuggling, creating such a huge profit or margin cushion for people to fake it, transport it to the third party countries, and doing all different types of interesting gray area tricks in order to evade it, right? So it doesn't make sense in the longer run. I understand it's like for negotiation, but what actually implied is a new paradigm in the a change to the world global economy and the supply chain structuring. And I think for all brands or all consumer businesses, they have to pay attention to this paradigm shifts, right? So in the past, I guess, however hard you try, you have to rely on the supply side in order to supply to into the U.S. markets. This country highly depends on the global supply. But now, all of these brands are actually faced with an important option or important choice. Do I have to shift to somewhere else? Who can I go to cope with this rapidly changing tariffs policies that are shifting every quarter? Should I just reshift my capex investment priority somewhere else? But these confusions are actually creating opportunities. Some of the brands or the AI businesses I've been talking to that are focusing on supply chain solutions, global trades, or doing mix and matches and helping out the American brands source globally, are actually seeing surging orders on asking for their help. I wouldn't mind just double click on that part, because the global trades is actually complicated. There are roughly 15 steps related to it, all the way from a Target buyer or Walmart buyer generating an idea for next Christmas to all the way down to receiving the goods in their warehouses. And out of that 15 steps, now Alibaba.com, which came into birth 25 years ago, can only solve 1 to 2 steps. And the remaining steps remain largely handled by human hands. And it's not even doable by SaaS, because of the complexity of case-by-case B2B complexity is actually requiring lots of human labor to work things out. But with generative AI and a lot of new tech solutions that are targeting global trades, a large part of it can actually be done by AI agents, interesting solutions with human in the loop. So I'm actually really bullish on solutions like PAX, which I mentioned, the tech solution, and I'm very bullish on anything related to global supply chain. That's just one idea I want to bring up.
Thank you. Maybe I want to ask Dee a question, but before I ask Dee a question, how many of you in the audience are like startup? I think Alan already asked that, but how many of you are like actually in the process of building like a product or something in the tech? Okay, sounds good. I wanted to ask, because the question that I'm about to ask Dee is, you were a staff engineer at Waymo, and that's pretty high up in the technology pyramid. but I guess you left and now you're building your own startup. How do you define founder and technology fit, where you as a person have this specific background and there's a problem that you want to solve with a certain set of technology? How do you, how did you end up working on that specific problem that you're trying to solve right now?
Yeah, I feel like in SF Bay Area, there are two types of founders. One is like you involve really deep in the deep tech area where you have a lot of connections around the researchers, engineers who are innovating a lot of new things today. And when you talk to the researchers, there are actually a lot of pain points they have. And when they have the pain point and they are not willing to solve those pain points, especially on the infrastructure side, I think that's your opportunity. That's on the deep tech side. And I think another part is more on to C or to traditional business side, where you do need to find the right way to talk to the the BD people or the sales people on the customer side. You do need to do a lot of research before you really jump into the area by leveraging the current product. I think the most important thing is don't need to be if you're not familiar enough with that market, don't jump into it too early from a niche point. Rather than that, you should just jump out of it, have a bird's eye view of the whole landscape of the industry you want to jump into, and then see whether the technology today is reaching to that point yet, or it still has some time to iterate. And what's the key blockers to iterate through to that time point for you to jump into? You need to think that twice before you really do that.
Do you have an investor's perspective on that problem? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My key takeaway. Actually, there were two observations. So, just finished my VC March Madness, which literally means we have to go to 7, 8 accelerator demo days. Throughout the entire March, trying to follow up with the project. I think what really shocked me is how similar these ideas are to what I saw 2 years ago. Lots of repetitive ideas, coming back and forth again and again. And when I leave the Silicon Valley and try to talk to companies that are closer to the clients, companies in New York City, in Los Angeles, there's tons of interesting ideas that are really specific to the industry, specific to the client issues. So I'm starting to feel that as engineering power evolves and as the information flattens, there's actually tons of opportunities in the industrial side and client side that is worth digging out. And I'm just not seeing enough of them in this market, that are tailor-made and are targeted to a specific issue that the industry today really faced. So my encouragement to all founders is actually, particularly to the tech founders, find a co-founder that is rich in a specific sector that you want to tackle, and has good accumulation of experiences and network in that specific sector, and try to cook something more vertical and deeper into the technology, into the sector.
Is that more true today because everyone has access to open source AI models and the playing field of developing AI tools have essentially been leveled where anyone really can build an AI tool very, very quickly? And you're saying that what differentiates you is essentially a sector knowledge?
No, it's essentially the sector-specific knowledge, sector-specific data points, and a good network which allows you to fly in the first year a bunch of design partners that are willing to work with you closely with you to cook something out. Yeah.
That almost. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, there are people like Qlay that are, trying to help out and, even out the differences on the engineering power, right? So essentially what makes you different is less of the engineering and less of what kind of product you can build, but more on, what kind of insights you bring alongside the product.
Does that mean the average age of a startup founder will go up? Because I feel like when you think of a startup founder, you think of like college dropouts who have no professional expertise. They're like 20, they drop out of Stanford and they don't have sector knowledge, but they build an extremely sophisticated tool. Does that mean they're not going to be a lot of those anymore, and it's going to be a lot of old people with a lot of knowledge in a sector?
I guess it depends on the sector and the solution you want to build for the industry, right? So we are actively, engaged with the younger generation founders in terms of the new to the world disruptions. But when it comes to commerce, as I mentioned, 15 steps, man, in that whole process, and I would expect a founder to at least have good knowledge on, a few steps of them, and so you come in educated, you know what you're building, and you know what your client might expect out of your final product, the first phase of the product, right? And I think that's the challenge I would throw to everyone. It's less about the age, but more about how deep you have thought about the solution you're building.
I think we need to redefine how we define young and old. For example, like for many of the consumer apps, like even for very young people, they have been obsessed and using a lot of like to see products every day, and they are accumulating a lot of experience on that from maybe 10 years old. So these type of periods, we should consider them as the deep obsessed user of some products already. And for many of the, the to B side product is totally different, because you have to have a lot of working experience to use that type of tools, or you feel like you've been hating that tool for so long time and you need to renovate it again. So that's I think we need to redefine the age of the user experience of some specific things.
I have a question. Also, I just saw a LinkedIn post that said founders in their 40s and 50s return much larger for the venture funds than founders in their 20s, just as an aside. But my question is really about social commerce. And you talked a lot about people buying on these streaming platforms. And I was just wondering what else you might see in social commerce. I'm particularly interested, like China tends to be really advanced in terms of just digital technology, the things that come out of there. And I know that there's a lot less consumer spending in China versus America. And that's something that, our government wants to see more consumer spending in China. But I'm just curious if you're seeing other innovations coming out of China in the social commerce space or in any other countries, or other kinds of social commerce innovations aside from the streaming purchases like on TikTok that you mentioned.
Yeah, that's a really good point. A really good question. So I just mentioned Thailand has surpassed the United States as a slightly bigger, TikTok shop market. So which actually leaves a lot of question marks and what has, the US social commerce done wrong. So that, and what are the potentials we're seeing? So, in lots of emerging markets, the streaming commerce actually involves in tons of human-led operations, management of the influencers, cross communications, and the live streaming itself is time consuming and it's energy consuming. So in high labor cost markets like North America in general, it is difficult to copy and paste the same model. And my personal belief is that there's so much that can be done through technology to take the burden of operations off the shoulders of the brands and operators on TikTok. Think so phase one of TikTok has been copy and paste whatever was working in the emerging markets. That's a small part of it. And also a major part of it is the willingness to cooperate amongst the influencers on how they want to turn themselves into a pure advertiser, or do they want to remain the prestigious content providers and influencers. I think there are major self-positioning differences between the US influencers, which are really high quality. They also expect a lot out of being an influencer themselves, considering as a career, and as a person that can have direct impact over a large group of audiences versus a sales lady. So if you get these things right, if you get the business models right, there's a chance you can make money in this market. But I'm seeing a lot of two ways of solutions. One is the end-to-end solution, packaging yourself as a brand itself, and then reach out broadly into different part of this this complicated chains and try to tackle with the issues. And another solution is to play horizontally as AI-powered connector that makes it easier for brands to do businesses with influencers. And I see potentials with both.
Awesome. All right. Maybe I'll open it up. Anybody have questions in particular about? Oh, okay.
The big room, so.
Because we have about the B2B. I wonder, have sort of kind of useful to know. My own website that customers. So there is a demand. Lexi, you mentioned it.
Yeah. So the three ideas we pointed out in our own research surround the change on content generation, particularly the user generated content's quality, right? So generative AI is actually change how much we can create as individuals, and that is actually creating a potential of a series of user-facing social networks from more social end to the more content end, and this will inevitably carve out some of these share of time we spend on the more traditional social networks and shift our focuses to the new ones. That's something we are really looking forward to dig into. Secondly is the search and recommendation engines behind a lot of existing opportunities. So search itself is an interesting behavior because GPT to many is already has already or Perplexity has already replaced the Google search in a lot of user settings. But we are also expecting that to happen in a lot more verticals. For example, like shopping could be one thing, education could be another thing, and curated personal contents. Suno is definitely like a great case, but there are also portfolio companies of ours trying to regenerate a whole book into a 15 minutes podcast, or regenerate a complicated learning session for the kids into like a conversation-based language learning for Spanish and Chinese. And these are all interesting recommendation ideas which are targeting a specific user group and will likely get high tractions. So I would say I'm really looking forward to particularly this year to use a smaller group of specific user groups and specific solutions that are targeting them on the 2C end. Thank you.
That's about it. Wait, wait, Alan, can you give me like the clicker? Oh, thank you. All right. Whoops. Last but not least, just one last slide. Again, this panel is brought to you by us, Qlay, and we do a lot of engineer hiring services. But if you're a startup and if you book a demo call in the next 48 hours, we're doing a super big campaign where you get 400 engineering hours. It's on us. Please scan it's a LinkedIn QR code for myself. You can add me or go to qlay.ai, qlay.ai, and book a demo with us. But I'll be around, and it will be great if we could chat quickly. Thank you, thank you. A lot of pizzas left. Please feel free to eat it, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you.